The TOEIC listening section is about 45 minutes long with 100 questions. Part 1, photographs and questions. 4 short statements regarding a photograph will be spoken only one time. Part 2, question, response, 25 questions. Part 3, conversations, 39 questions. Part 4, talks, 30 questions, short talks such as announcements or narrations. Phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs consist of a verb and one or more participle, a preposition or adverb, that completely change the meaning of the main verb. Some examples include bring up, which means to mention or raise a topic, or call off, to cancel or terminate something. Native speakers frequently use phrasal verbs in their speech, and being familiar with these expressions allows learners to understand and participate in conversations more effectively. I've created a book with 1,000 phrasal verbs that every English learner should know. I put it in the description below. Understand the phrasal verbs in context by examining example sentences. Observe how the phrasal verb changes the overall meaning of the sentence and identify any patterns in usage. For example, I turned up at the party and surprised everyone. Turn means one thing, but turned up means another. Engage in listening exercises that focus on phrasal verbs. Listen to dialogues or conversations where phrasal verbs are used and try to identify and understand them. Listening study schedule. Time management doesn't just apply to taking the test. It starts the moment you start studying for it. Maximize your listening growth in the least amount of time with a test study schedule. Creating a study schedule for IELTS, TOEFL, or TOEIC is the most powerful way you can improve your score. Here's an example. Monday 9 to 10 a.m. do the listening section of test number 13. Tuesday 9 to 10 a.m. review the answers from the day before. Identify wrong choices and understand why they were incorrect. Wednesday, transcribe one passage from test 13. Identify 5 words, phrases, or sentences that you have trouble understanding, and so on. By planning your listening practice, you are consciously putting effort into winning, which means that you are more likely to succeed if it's written down rather than passively trying to achieve it. At the start of each week, create your weekly schedule. Write down what you will study, and that focus will help you improve much faster. Note taking. You have to train yourself to take notes during the test on the most important content. You shouldn't worry about listening for new information and remembering it. So during the listening phase, write down keywords, important vocabulary, proper nouns, and what you think the main idea is. Content words are meaningful words that contain significance, such as people or places, actions, and descriptions. Since time is of the essence, only write down the consonants and core symbols. Vowels are so common that you could write a word without using any vowels and still understand the meaning. This could be sleep, symptoms, and depression. Some symbols you can use when taking notes: benefit, positive, also well, together, combined, no, not, negative, stop, I'm not sure, the lecturer is not sure. Question, rising, increase, improve, positive, beneficial, going down, decreasing, problematic, hurting, leads to, results in, follows, is equal to, the same as, something is like, similar to, not equal to, not the same as, dissimilar, and connected to. Symbols are important. Not only do they save you time, but also increase the amount of information you write down about the listening passages. Start with just 2 or 3. I suggest the arrows since they are easiest to understand. You have to be succinct. If you spend time writing down unnecessary information, you will miss important content. Question types. There are 7 main question types in a listening test. Content. What is the topic of discussion? What is the professor mainly discussing? Purpose. Why does the student visit the professor? Why does the professor mention that? Detail. What is stated in the passage? According to the speaker, what do they say? Speaker's attitude. What is the professor's opinion of? What can be inferred about the student? Inferred is a great word. It means what does it mean? What can we learn from that? Function. What does the speaker mean when he says? Why does the professor say this? Inferences. What can be inferred about? What does the speaker imply about? Organization. How does the professor organize the information about? While it's important to know the different question types, it's even more important for you to know how to answer each type. Make sure to practice identifying and answering these different question types. Passage structure. When you understand the structure of a conversation or lecture, you can anticipate what will be said and which information is important. Most listening conversational passages have a fairly simple structure. First, a problem is presented by a student. Next, someone offers a solution. Finally, someone describes the steps needed to solve the problem. Academic lectures are typically organized based on 6 different structures: cause and effect, historical narrative, problem and solution, sequence of steps, compare and contrast, and category with specific examples. Practice examples of these questions so that you can know these structures and what is required to answer correctly. Focus on the main idea. Don't try to understand everything in the listening section. Think of the lectures and conversations as stories, the same way as when you would watch a movie. You may not understand every word. What is most important is that you understand what is happening and the context. There are 2 priorities for you to identify: the main idea of the topic, how the professor illustrates, expands on, or explains the main idea. What does the professor want me to know? And related ideas and relationships within a lecture. Reasons, because, since. Results, as a result, so, therefore, thus, consequently. Examples, for example, such as comparison, in contrast, than. An opposing idea, on the other hand, however. Another idea, furthermore, moreover, besides. A similar idea, similarly, likewise. Restatements of information, in other words, that is. Conclusions, in conclusion, in summary. Active listener. A definition of active listening is that it requires feedback from the listener. When you are having a conversation with someone, you naturally listen in an active manner because you need to respond. Most students listen to listening passages passively because they are taking notes on what they hear and trying to understand everything. Listen actively. Try to answer the following questions: who, what, when, where, why, how. To practice this, listen to a passage and then try to explain it as if you were explaining it to a 6-year-old. Here are some quick fire listening tips. Focus on the second speaker. In a conversation between 2 people, the answer is often, but not always, said by the second speaker. Answer the question as you listen. The recording is only played once, so a suggestion is to answer the question right after it is asked to make sure you don't forget it. Pay attention to answers that are synonyms among the options. Also pay attention to the structure. Lectures and presentations have an introduction, body, and conclusion. Narrative stories have a beginning, middle, and end. Pay attention to the body language or listen for intonation patterns used to express different emotions. Words or phrases that are said louder, clearer, or stressed. Listen for pauses between important points. Listen for numbers you might hear in prices, times, or addresses. Listen for verbs or other expressions that show if an event is happening in the past, present, or future. Pay attention to similar sounds. There are often trick questions where some answers sound similar but have very different meanings to the question asked. It might look something like this: we wanted to go and watch a movie, but we lacked the funds. Locked, looked, leaked, lacked. If the keyword in the second line is lacked, it is clear that locked, looked, and leaked are all decoy answers. Contractions. In the English language, contractions are the shortened form of a word: cannot, can't, or a group of words: he is, he's, that omit certain letters or sounds. These missing letters are indicated with an apostrophe. Some of the most common ones in the English language include the following: he would, he'd, I have, I've, they are, there, cannot, can't. I put this PDF with a list of common contractions in the description below. Listen to different accents. Listening tests sometimes include accents besides the common American one. We should expose ourselves to different English accents. Unsurprisingly, the best tip is for you to listen to English regularly. Actively listen to news clips, songs, watch videos and movies, but also include different accents to become more familiar with them.